All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tearing down an expert's data-driven prediction for the entire 2025-26 NFL playoffs. We're going to follow the logic all the way from a field of 14 teams, right down to one single champion for Super Bowl LX. So let's jump right in. So the entire analysis we're about to walk through is framed by one single powerful idea. This postseason is a war of attrition. It's not just about who has the most talent. It's really about survival. The teams that can stay healthy, the ones that can weather the storm of injuries, those are the ones that are going to be left standing in the end. So here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into that war of attrition idea and the tools used for the analysis. Then we'll meet the top-seeded heavyweights, fly through the wildcard games, watch the field narrow, and finally build to that one single Super Bowl prediction. Okay, so before we can even get to who wins and who loses, we have to look under the hood. This whole prediction isn't based on gut feelings or hot takes. It's built on a really specific analytical framework. This entire thing really boils down to three key pillars. First up, efficiency. This is all about figuring out how good a team truly is. Play by play, when you strip out all the noise. Second, availability. Who's healthy, who's hurt, and more importantly, how much does that actually matter to their bottom line? And finally, there's context. Is the game in a blizzard? Is a team riding a massive hot streak? All of these variables get factored in. Now, the secret weapon for this whole analysis is a metric called DVOA, and the easiest way to think about it is like a team's true power level. It looks at every single play of the season and asks, okay, how valuable was that, really, considering the down, the distance, and who they were playing against? It's the #1 tool used to separate the pretty good teams from the truly, truly elite ones. Okay, so with that framework in our back pocket, let's meet the two teams that have not only dominated, but have survived that war of attrition to earn a first-round bye. These are the Goliaths of their conferences. First up, in the AFC, you've got the 14-3 Denver Broncos. This team is just built on a suffocating #2 ranked defense. But honestly, their biggest weapon might just be their health. They are the healthiest team coming into the playoffs, which is huge. Plus, their quarterback, Bo Nix, has been unbelievably clutch, racking up 7 game-winning drives. That's a recipe for a deep run. And then over in the NFC, you have the equally dominant 14-3 Seattle Seahawks. And to really get how special this team is, you gotta hear this. Their #1 DVOA rating, it's not just the best in the league this year, it is the 7th best of all time. That's insane. Their defense gives up a measly 13 points a game, and they've got the NFL's leading receiver in Jackson Smith-Jigba. They are a juggernaut. All right, time to pick up the pace for Wild Card Weekend. We're going to burn through these 6 games pretty fast because according to this analysis, every single one of them really comes down to one critical make-or-break factor. First up, we've got the Rams visiting the Panthers, and, well, the data here tells a pretty brutal story. This is by far the biggest statistical mismatch of the entire weekend. The Rams are the #2 team in the league by DVOA. The Panthers? They're way down at 25th. You throw in that ugly -69-point differential for Carolina, and this one points to a pretty clear Rams win, 34-17. Next, it's the 49ers at the Eagles. And the analysis here is just blunt. It says, flat out, the 49ers are broken. And that's not just, a team in a slump. It suggests a complete structural failure. So why? What's going on? Well, it all goes back to that war of attrition. It starts with the devastating injury to the linebacker Fred Warner. This guy is the absolute quarterback of their defense. It's central nervous system, and he is out. On top of that, their best offensive lineman, Trent Williams, is hobbled. When your pillars crumble like that, you're in trouble. The prediction here is an Eagles win, 31-17. Okay, now for a classic rivalry, Packers at Bears. And the X factor in this game isn't a player, it's the weather. The forecast is calling for snow and freezing temps at Soldier Field, and that just fundamentally changes how this game is played. It tilts the whole field, literally, in favor of the Chicago Bears' power running game and their opportunistic defense, especially with Packers star Micah Parsons out. Prediction, a gritty cold weather win for the Bears, 20-13. Next up, we've got the Bills traveling to face the Jaguars. And this game highlights a massive mismatch right at the line of scrimmage. See, Jacksonville has the #1 run defense in the entire league, which is the perfect kryptonite for what Buffalo wants to do. Meanwhile, the Bills' run defense is ranked way down at 28th. The Jags are also riding an 8-game winning streak. The analysis sees a 27-23 win for Jacksonville. So now we head to New England for the Chargers and the Patriots, and this game is all about the quarterbacks. On one side, you have Justin Herbert, who's a great player, but he's playing with a fractured hand in 26-degree weather. On the other side, you've got the MVP runner-up, Drake May, comfortable at home. That is just a huge disparity, and it leads to a predicted 24-14 win for the Patriots. And for our final wildcard game, it's the Texans at the Steelers. And look, the case for Houston here is just overwhelming. They've got the NFL's #1 total defense going up against a pretty average Steelers offense, an offense that's going to be missing its best receiver, DK Metcalf, who's suspended. You put a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers up against that elite Houston pass rush, it's a recipe for a low-scoring Texans win, 19-13. So the wildcard round basically acts like a filter, right? It weeds out the flawed teams, the injured teams, the pretenders are all gone, and now we are left with the true contenders. And in the divisional round, that week of rest and home field advantage really becomes a massive factor. In the AFC, the top seed Broncos are expected to just squeak by the Texans' tough defense, while the Patriots' high-octane offense proves to be too much for the Jaguars. Over in the NFC, Seattle's all-time great defense is the prediction to shut down the Rams, and the Eagles' physical, disciplined style should overwhelm the Bears. In all 4 matchups, the top seeds take care of business at home. And just like that, we're down to 4. The playoff funnel has done its job perfectly, and it is set up 2 absolutely colossal championship games to decide who's going to the Super Bowl. So in the AFC Championship, you've got Patriots at Broncos. This is Drake May's firepower against Denver's suffocating defense at altitude. Then in the NFC, it's the Eagles visiting the Seahawks, Philly's brute force against an all-time great defense in maybe the loudest stadium in all of sports. And according to the analysis, in both games, the result is the same. Elite defense and home field advantage win the day. The Broncos and the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. And so, after all of that, it all comes down to this. A Super Bowl showdown between the 2 #1 seeds, the Denver Broncos versus the Seattle Seahawks. This is a true clash of the titans, a battle between the 2 best defenses in the entire league. When you lay out the data side by side for this final matchup, a clear favorite starts to emerge. I mean, look, both of these teams are incredible, but Seattle has the edge in that all-powerful predictive metric, their historic #1 DVOA rating. They also have the undisputed offensive MVP of the game in Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's the most dynamic weapon on the field. And so the final prediction is for a tough defensive slugfest, a game that's going to be won on just a couple of plays. Seattle's all-time great defense comes up huge, forcing 2 critical turnovers from Bo Nix, and late in the 4th quarter, Jackson Smith-Njigba makes the game-winning play. The final score, Seattle Seahawks 19, Denver Broncos 16. You know, this entire data-driven journey leads us to one final really fascinating question. We live in an age of super-powered offenses, right? Of quarterback superstars and fantasy points. But this prediction, it suggests that maybe, just maybe, when all the chips are down, a truly historic, dominant defense is still the ultimate trump card. Something to chew on.